and welcome to our first edition of The Brief. I'm Jessy Chahal. Now, to ensure the continuity of our program and the kind of content we bring to you, we are now known as The Brief, where we hope to bring you snapshots as well as insights of the current trending news stories. But whatever the case, we'll keep it brief for you. Now, on the plate today, of course, it is back to school. Face-to-face classes have resumed for 94,000 students across 10 states, both in phases 2, 3, and 4 of the National Recovery Plan. So parents and kids, I know, as exciting as it may be, it is the new norm. We still need to stay safe and stay vigilant. Back to school after 2 years, that's really something. Hopefully we will move towards that end goal and to be out of this pandemic status very, very soon. Now, at the Parliament, from the Human Resource Minister, he says the implementation of the wage subsidy program with an allocation of 18 billion ringgit through the Social Security Organisation, or SOCSO, has successfully saved 2.9 million employees from losing their jobs and assisted over 300,000 employees to date. He says this program is a good approach to assist employers and employees affected by, of course, the MCO. And so far, it's been well received by the group. Since the first week of the MCO, he says it can, or rather could be seen that the wage subsidy program became a popular choice among employees and, of course, for the industry at large as well. In fact, there was great demand from other industry players, with the government ensuring that they will provide sufficient allocation for the 3 phases of the MCO. But the Prime Minister, he had this to say earlier today. The government, he says, will continue to implement policies encouraging attitudes and behaviours necessary for an endemic scenario. Now, he's also added more of his salient points to this, and that is that Malaysians must be prepared to accept the reality of no longer being able to return to the carefree normality of the past. As much as we miss it, we still need to do our best to take care of each other, because no one is safe till all of us are safe, right? So Malaysians, he says, will have a clearer picture of the SOPs moving forward. He's reiterated his call as well for a new narrative, as he says, one that goes beyond personalities, beyond old affiliations, beyond embedded identities, and above all, beyond conflicting loyalties. This through the Malaysia Family or Keluarga Malaysia approach. One we know that is the agenda and the theme of the Prime Minister being in office. Next, joining me in crisis management is Analyst Nordin Abdullah with a brand new spanking segment simply called Nordin's Crisis Brief. Nordin, it's over to you.
Thank you, Jessy. And today on the Crisis Brief, I want to talk about 3 stories. And the first story we're looking at is the South China Sea. Prime Minister has mentioned that Malaysia will continue to ensure its sovereignty in that area. And one of the areas we're looking at here is, in a sense, is the issues of incursions into Malaysian waters. And then this is one area that the Prime Minister touched on in his recent speech, on his recent interview. So that's one area that we're looking at in terms of dealing with the current threat in the South China Sea. So there are many issues that we need to take into consideration here. One is the multilateral issue of dealing with ASEAN and its different partners as well as bilateral issues, which we are talking the different countries which had recent incursions both on the sea and in the air. And this is one area that Malaysia will continue to deal with in its no compromise approach, I think was the words that the Prime Minister used last night. And I think so this is to ensure that there's no crisis flashpoints, there is no issues moving forward. You know, sometimes if in these issues you give an inch, people take a mile. So that's one area that we're looking at and monitoring quite closely as the day develops. The next issue that we're looking at is the issue of demographics and the issue of a potential crisis 25 years from now. But it's one area that has been brought up in the news in the last couple of days around Malaysia's aging population. Now, a lot of countries deal with an aging population, but when we talk about the Malaysian population, everyone thought Malaysia was dealing with a very young country. But when you stretch out that number 25 years, you realize in a very short period of time, Malaysia will be dealing with an aged population and not just an aging population. That is a demographic crisis. What makes it an issue is actually savings rates. And we've seen recent news talking about EPF saving rates and other retirement numbers where people have savings of less than 10,000 ringgit. And the current COVID-19 pandemic has really hit savings hard. So if we look at Klang Valley, which is probably one of the better areas in the country, 27% of families are living less than on below less than a living wage. So this is a crisis that the government is currently looking to deal with. And you look at the different policies that they're starting to develop, which will ensure that no one is left behind. And that's the approach Prime Minister is taking with Keluarga Malaysia and ensuring that this issue is dealt with now and not in 25 years' time. So that's one area. The next area that we're looking at is very quickly the importation of over 32,000 foreign laborers into the plantation sector. We saw the inability of moving in laborers during COVID-19, but we realized, and the government has realized very quickly, that these workers are required, especially at harvest time. And you see various countries around the world have taken this approach in dealing with getting more labor in during harvest time to ensure that those crops don't go to waste. So what we're looking at is ensuring that the several billion ringgit of exports that need to be hit. I think we're at 160 billion in terms of palm oil export at the moment, and we need to hit that target of 180 in the first 100 days. To achieve that, labor is required. Of course, the minister did state that there is a preference for local labor, but a lot of the local labor is not dealing with that, and there's a need to further invest into technology, further to invest into innovation, to ensure that Malaysians are dealing with this part of the economy. But at the same time, it's about creating value and ensuring Malaysia gets the revenue from these commodity exports quickly. So that's it for the crisis brief today. And Jessy, we hope that we're, with this new format of the show, we're looking forward to dealing with these issues quickly and concise and giving more context and being able to unpack some of these issues that that Malaysians are dealing with on a day in and day out basis.
Absolutely, Nordin. A clearer perspective, a deeper insight, and a better understanding to what's going on in our country and beyond as well. Thank you, Nordin, for that perspective as well. Of course, that was Nordin with the crisis management brief, so to say, or Nordin's crisis brief. That, of course, will happen on a daily basis right here on the brief as you get used to our program flow as well. Well, back to what the Prime Minister has said this week as well. He has now announced that the upcoming budget 2022 will address all immediate fiscal issues with great urgency. He reminds us that this year, for the first time, the government has released a pre-budget statement and has distributed 5 public consultation papers on a variety of structural reform issues. Now, underlying all these policies defined by the government, the National Recovery Council, they will play an active role in restoring our nation's economic health and prosperity. Of course, vital and detrimental to the success and the recovery that we will undergo or experience in the next few months as well. So for now, the national budget for next year will be tabled by the Finance Minister, Tengku Datuk Seri Zafrul, on the 29th of October. We're swiftly in the month of October already, so that too, not too long ahead on the horizon. And from the Finance Minister himself, Tengku Datuk Seri Zafrul Abdul Aziz, he says that the government will focus on several sectors which have been badly affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. And these include tourism, retail, as well as the SMEs, or the small and medium enterprises. All of this in the budget 2022. Now, the government, he says, is optimistic that the country's economy will recover next year in line with the positive growth projections that's been made by the IMF and the World Bank. So, some serious and hopeful backing there. This, he says, can be achieved through the government's high commitment to revive all pandemic related sectors. However, the recovery period may differ depending on the economic sector as well as market forces as well. Now, to give us a closer look into all things the budget and of course, as we head towards recovery, from the International Center for Education in Islamic Finance, INCEIF's Research Management Center Director, I'm joined by Professor Baharum Abdul Hamid to tell us a little bit more about the 12th Malaysia Plan and the budget. Prof, welcome. It's good to speak to you. You're our very first guest on the program today, so I'm truly happy to invite you on board here. Let's start with the 12th Malaysia Plan, Prof. It's been exactly 1 week since the Prime Minister tabled the plan. What's your overall view of the 12th MP?
Thank you, Jessy. Very good afternoon and congratulations for the new show. And I feel privileged to be in the first show. Okay, when we talk about the RMK 12, of course, we have to look at the intended outcomes. We have to look at the targets. We have to look at the objectives. So I just want to pick on the six targets or six objectives. The first is the intended outcome of GDP growth between 4.5% to 5.5%. And we compare that with the end of the 11th Malaysian Plan, whereby we only achieved 2.7%. The second is gross national income or GNI per capita. We are targeting 57,882 ringgit compared to the end of the 11th Malaysian Plan, 42,503 ringgit. And the third is labor productivity. We intend to have a growth of 3.6% per annum, whereby we are only achieving 1.1% now. And the compensation of employees, we are targeting 40%. Currently, it's only 37%. And average monthly household income, we are targeting 10,000, and now it's the 7,160. And the Malaysian Wellbeing Index, we are targeting 1.2% increase. Currently, it's at 0.5%. Overall, it looks good on paper. Overall, it looks very viable, very practical, and achievable. But we have to really understand and we have to really take into consideration that these would be achieved and as per targeted if everything moves smoothly. When I say everything moves smoothly, it has to do a lot with the current prolonging pandemic, COVID-19. But the good thing is we have dipped below 5 digits. I think yesterday there were only 9,000 cases. So everything is pointing north. We are opening up the economic sector. The states are moving to phase 3 and phase 4. These are all good signs. These are lights at the end of the tunnel. However, we have to be very cautious and we have to keep on focusing on the standard operating procedures, the SOPs, follow the safeties and everything as per the government. And we have to also ensure the political stability is continued. If any of these is not adhered to, then it might derail. However, I'm looking at it, it's very achievable. Then coming back to the budget 2022, budget 2022 is the first nucleus of the long-term 12th Malaysian Plan. And as what Tengku Zafrul have mentioned, and as what have you pointed out, their target is now to recover. And when we say recover, of course, we have to give the focus to the most affected sectors, which is the services. And when we talk about services, of course, tourism, we are talking about retail, we are talking about SME. So these are the sectors that are not only severely affected, these are the sectors whereby we have most of the B40s inside there. So the government have to give a special focus here in order for us to improve the economy, recover, and we will be back to recovery, inshallah.
Prof, a lot of thoughts there. I've been trying to take as many notes as I can, but I want to go back to what you said, viable and practical. That's your view of the 12th Malaysia Plan. But also in that same breath, you said, and you did mention, that achieving it will be the tricky part. Now, what can be done in terms of strategy, perhaps, to ensure that some of these targets can be met? Because again, theory on paper, it sounds and it looks good. But beyond that, how can these targets be achieved?
Sorry, Jessy, I may sound like a broken record. I have said this many times on air. What we need is not only a plan, but we need a proper execution. We do not only need proper execution, it has to be followed by measurement, indicators, and reporting. So whatever we had before in the Malaysian plan, mostly we have half period review, we call it, but it's too long, it's too late, Jesse. What we should have is at least either half year review or full year review. And every time the full year review is done, we have to see how effective the disbursement, the expenditure. If there is a problem, why are we facing the problem? And we have to rectify it immediately. And not only that, Jesse, it has to be reported. So it's like a report card whereby, like we are looking forward at the end of the year when the government says, look, this is the first year of the 12 Malaysian plan. This much have been disbursed to these sectors, and this is what we have intended to achieve, and this is what we have achieved, and we are rectifying it. So this is the part, the integrity, the transparency, the reporting, the measurement. We need to bring this new culture into place, Jesse.
Very quickly, though, Prof, earlier today, the Prime Minister said the 12th Malaysia Plan will address the development of disparity between states and the income gaps between socio-economic groups as well. And based on what you said about, household income as well. So all interrelated there. What is your view?
My view is this is a long-standing issue, Jesse. We talk about the new economic policy. We have been talking about the same thing over and over again. But why are we not achieving the intended target? Where did we go wrong? So this is what's so important, Jesse. As what the Prime Minister have pointed out, it's not only the budget, it's as well the 12 Malaysian plan. These are targeted at the fundamentals. When I say fundamentals, like I said, the income between the races, the
Right.
income between the regions. We have East Coast, we have West Coast, we have East Malaysia, we have West Malaysia, and we have to agree that the disparity is there, and we have to agree that disparity between Bumis and non-Bumis is there. So we have to, in the name of family. After all, we are talking about keluarga Malaysia now, Jesse. We do not want to be any of the family members to be left out. So let us
We
focus on
sure,
this
yes. We want to
dream
ensure everyone
together.
is well taken care of and that we take care of each other fairly as well. On
Yes.
the budget 2022, Prof, the finance minister has said, and I quote, in the budget, we will give attention and assistance to all sectors, including the most badly affected sectors, which are tourism, retail, and the SME. Can you elaborate a little bit about these sectors as well?
Okay. The first of all, like I said, these are the sectors where we have a lot of nano, micro, and small enterprises. These are the sectors that has been badly affected by the pandemic COVID-19. Again, these are the sectors that has a huge potential. When we talk about tourism, we talk about retail. These are all services, and they have a lot of spillovers. So the moment you have pump into one sector, it could be felt the multiplier could grow, and a lot of people could be benefiting for this. Those are the fundamentals. Like I said, the tourism sector almost paralyzed. So this is the time the government needs to inject, needs to put in some fiscal injection, needs to give some financial assistance for them to stand back on their feet. And the spillover will be felt not only by these sectors, but by the nation and the people.
Prof, of course, not much time left on the clock. Some parting thoughts, perhaps, as we move forward, closer towards the budget as well that's being unveiled.
Yeah. So what I hope, like I said, not only a proper plan, a strategy of execution, measurement indicators, and reporting. So it has to be the whole supply chain of it, the whole stream of it. Make it a new culture, Jesse. Do not wait until and we keep on saying that we have not intended to achieve, we have not, make this a
Yeah.
new culture. And all the best for the new show, Jesse.
Thank you. Everything brand new in terms of the plan and the budget and this program as well. Here's hoping for a breath of fresh air and newness. Prof, thank you for weighing in. That was Professor Baharum Abdul Hamid from the International Center for Education in Islamic Finance. Now, here's a word from the Health Minister, Khairi Jamaluddin, on mega vaccination centers. He says there is no need for PPVs to continue vaccine operations now that most people have been vaccinated. So PPVs with good vaccination coverage are soon to be wound up and closed in stages. Meanwhile, several PPVs are still going to be kept open for vaccination programs for younger adults, and from here on, the government as well as the private clinics would be made as PPVs for booster shots. We know that is something that is perhaps coming in the near future for those who have been fully vaccinated. Now, here's a quick point to note on the false alarm over vaccine side effects among teenagers. The health minister says there has been no reports of any serious side effects so far. In the meantime, staff at the World Trade Center PPV had mixed emotions, some of joy or sadness and even pride, when it officially closed today after operating for 150 days since May 5th. The World Trade Center and Klang Valley PPV manager, Dr. Husni, says the mega PPV, and boy was it mega, I had got inoculated there, which specifically administered the AstraZeneca vaccines, had its own share of challenges in implementing the vaccination process. He also said that the managing of that 18,000 doses of vaccine jabs a day was among the priceless experiences he would never forget. Bittersweet experiences many of us have had throughout this COVID-19 phase. We're still in it. We're trying to do our best to battle it out. But hey, we here at The Brief, we want to bring you everything in a nutshell, but tell it to you power-packed like a chili padi, perhaps. But I'm on Twitter. My handle is @Jessy Chahal. Leave me any views or opinions you may have, as well as I have conversations with industry experts and subject matter experts and the like right here. What's been trending over social media, of course, for the right reasons as well, is when the so-called VIP tweeted something that was racist. Let me tell you all about it. The Badminton Association of Malaysia has joined the chorus of condemnation towards a racially charged remark allegedly made by a social media user against our national shuttler S. Kisona following the latter's exit from the Sudirman Cup. A statement has been issued by BAM, and in which they criticized the remarks supposedly made on social media by a user named Burhan Che Rahim, who associated these terms, these racially derogatory terms with Kisona following her elimination from the international tournament held in Finland. So PAC is saying that they will continue to fight for the eradication of racism in sports, especially within the sport of badminton. Now, meanwhile, the individual who allegedly made a racially charged remark against the national shuttler turned out to be a Parti Pribumi Bersatu Malaysia leader, but is said to have resigned from his party post. Bersatu Vice President and Youth and Sports Minister Datuk Seri Ahmad Faizal Azumu confirmed the member's resignation. The report noted that the Bersatu member who made this racial remarks on his social media account bearing the name Burhan Che Rahim was a division vice chairman in Kelantan. Let that sit there for a while, and to understand that we all have a responsibility, especially when we are talking about Keluarga Malaysia and staying united and staying as a force. Here's a snapshot of what's happening internationally. A large oil spill off the Southern California coast was described as an environmental catastrophe by the mayor of Huntington Beach yesterday, as the breach of an oil rig pipeline left dead fish and birds strewn on the sand and offshore wetlands clogged with oil. This spill was caused by a breach connected to the Ellie oil rig and is stretched from the Huntington Beach Pier down to Newport Beach, a stretch of coast popular with surfers and sunbathers. as sad as that is. In New Zealand, the flag carrier, of course, said on October 3rd that it will require passengers on its international flights to be fully vaccinated against COVID-19 in what is one of the world's most strict policies for travelers. New Zealand plans to reopen its international borders soon, which have been closed since March 2020, to anyone who is not a New Zealand citizen by early next year. Here's a quick note as well. In September, Australia's largest airline said it will require that all passengers on international flights will have to be vaccinated as well. They became one of the first airlines in the world to require proof of inoculation for everyone on board. So thank goodness we've got our MySejahtera digital certs. If you have not gotten inoculated yet, please sign up through MySejahtera as well. Now, controversial Swedish artist Lars Vilks died in a car accident yesterday, according to local media. He passed on alongside two police officers after a truck collided with their car and the police, according to the Swedish broadcaster SVT. Now, Vilks was a known painter, sculptor, and art theorist. That year, he drew 3 cartoons of the Muslim Prophet Muhammad for an exhibition on dogs in art to test whether the politically correct organizers would dare show them, in which they did not, citing security reasons. Environmentalists in Indonesia are keen to send a message about the world's worsening ocean plastics crisis, have created a museum made entirely from plastics to convince people to rethink their habits and say no to single-use bags and bottles. The outdoor exhibition in the town of Gresik in East Java took 3 months to assemble and is made up of more than 10,000 plastic waste items, everything from bottles to bags to sachets and straws, all collected from polluted rivers and beaches as well. Here's a quick look at what's happening on social media. On Twitter, Jaya, hashtag Sudirman Cup 2021. Fellow Malaysians have been congratulating the Malaysian team upon achieving the bronze medal at this tournament. Also, hashtag what's happening in Myanmar. People on Twitter have been tweeting regarding the ongoing protest of Myanmar citizens against its military coup. And in Hong Kong, tweets regarding Hong Kong being suspended over China's Evergrande property management unit has been widely talked about on the social media platform as well. Hey, here's a quick reminder. We are available online on Facebook, on YouTube. You can stream us live as well. We're also on Instagram. Leave us your comments and your thoughts. If you'd like to reach me, I'm available at Jessy Chahal on Twitter. Love to hear some of your thoughts. Remember, The Brief, bringing you insights and quick news updates about what's happening in and around the country. Till tomorrow, have a great day, stay safe, and take care. Bye-bye.